What is up, everybody? It is JT Sports. I am back to you guys with another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the state of the franchise for the San Francisco 49ers, the New England Patriots, and the New York Jets. Now, if this is your first time tuning in to the JT Sports Podcast, welcome. I appreciate you for listening in. Make sure that you follow me on all of my social media platforms. My Instagram is JT Sports _. My Twitter is JT Sports __. Make sure to go ahead and follow me on those so you can stay up to date with everything that's going on with the channel, as well as bonus content. Lastly, make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel if you haven't already, which is JT Sports. State of the franchise for the New England Patriots. Now, New England went 10-7. They lost in the Wildcard Round to the Buffalo Bills. But this overall was, in my opinion, a pretty successful season for the Patriots. And when you look at Bill Belichick, Bill Belichick kind of went into the past season with a little bit to prove. We all consider Bill Belichick to be the greatest head coach in NFL history. But some people out there were kind of doubting, Bill Belichick's ability to still be able to coach a team and get a team to the playoffs without Tom Brady. So they bring in Mac Jones, and I don't really know how many people expected to see Mac Jones play year one as a rookie. Now, I wasn't that surprised, but, it did catch me a little bit off guard because Bill Belichick is a coach who doesn't really like to start a lot of rookies. He tends to favor his veteran players. So the fact that Mac Jones won the starting job kind of was an indicator that, hey, this guy probably was going to have a really good rookie season. If you guys have been following the podcast all the way back to last year, I was clamoring at the fence that Mac Jones was going to have the best career and the best rookie season out of all the quarterbacks coming out in his respective draft class. And, that came to fruition. He had a better rookie season than pretty much everybody who he was drafted in the same round as. And on top of that, he made it to the Pro Bowl as a rookie. And the Patriots, honestly, even if they improve the wide receiver position, because there are some people out there, like my guy Juice Alert, who thinks that the Patriots need to bring in some more dynamic wide receivers to improve the pass attack, which I can definitely understand. When you have a dominant wide receiver on the outside, it definitely can help in the development of a young quarterback. You saw what happened to Josh Allen's career when the Buffalo Bills traded for Stephon Diggs. It completely took Josh Allen to another level, or at least the trade for Stephon Diggs helped Josh Allen take his game to another level. And it's always good to have a reliable option in a passing game for any quarterback, rather you're a rookie or a veteran. Everybody wants to have a go-to number one wide receiver, and you kind of have to wonder if the Patriots are going to try to find that guy this offseason. Nelson Agholor, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers are definitely nice wide receivers, don't get me wrong, but they're not the number one wide receiver that the Patriots need right now. They need a true number one. If Nelson Agholor is your number one option in the passing game, then you kind of have some issues, okay? Now, I understand that the wide receiver position doesn't run the whole entire offense. They also utilize their tight ends, Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry. I understand that. But there's nothing like having a good, dominant option on the outside at wide receiver. And that's something that, I think the Patriots should look into if they're going to try to elevate into becoming Super Bowl contenders for next season. On top of that, Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator that Mac Jones had during his rookie season. He's gone. He's going to be the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. Who's going to be the next offensive coordinator in New England? The rumors are is down to Bill O'Brien and Adam Gase. Now, Bill O'Brien spent time on Alabama staff with Nick Saban. As a matter of fact, he was their offensive coordinator for this past college football season. And, his play calling was met with a lot of criticism at times, but from watching Bill O'Brien, I don't really think the play calling was that bad. I think it was pretty. It had its moments, but when you look at when you have a young quarterback in Mac Jones, stability is really key. Like, for a young quarterback to really develop, you gotta have stability on the coaching staff. And with Josh McDaniels upping and leaving, becoming the head man for the Raiders, you gotta kind of wonder how bringing a new offensive coordinator is going to affect Mac Jones' development, and how is the new offensive coordinator going to best build his play calling around Mac Jones' strengths. On top of that, the Patriots need to get younger on defense, because there's no reason why guys like Dante Howard and Jamie Collins should still be playing for New England. Like Bill Belichick is somebody who likes to hold on to veteran players until there ain't no more juice left in them. And it's kind of like, like that one person who always collects everything. They never really throw nothing away. Everything they come across is a collection. Like, they hold on to it longer than what they should. And for Bill Belichick, he has a tendency to hang on to players for a very, very long time. Like, come on, Bill Belichick, man. Like, get a little bit younger when it comes to the linebacker position. That definitely was probably one of the biggest Achilles heels that the New England Patriots had on defense. And while we're on this subject of defense, is Bill Belichick really going to allow J.C. Jackson to walk away for nothing and become a free agent? Now, we know how Bill Belichick and the Patriots are when it comes to contract negotiations. They're pretty firm. They don't often break the bank too often. But you look at how J.C. Jackson performed. He definitely played at a really high level. And he's going to demand a pretty hefty salary. As a matter of fact, if you're New England, are you willing to pay J.C. Jackson the kind of money that he's asking for? Because having a good cornerback is really essential to having a good Bill Belichick caliber defense, because Bill Belichick's defenses have always been predicated mostly on good play in the secondary, and the secondary being able to match up with your wide receivers and blanket those guys and, create coverage sacks. So if the Patriots are willing to let J.C. Jackson walk, are they going to bring in, maybe some, cornerbacks that maybe a tier below J.C. Jackson? Or are they going to opt to draft a corner in the upcoming 2022 NFL draft? Like, it's really weird how Bill Belichick really has a knack for letting his best players walk away. And sometimes, he's right when it comes to letting certain players walk away. Certain players leave New England and we don't really hear nothing from them again. Some players leave New England and still become even bigger stars than what they were there before they, left New England. So I'm looking at the Patriots, and right now you have $7 million and some change in cap space. So, not really a lot of cap space to have the kind of free agency that you had last year. However, if you can rework a couple of deals, make a couple of trades and free up a little bit more cap space, that could be enough to go out there and get you, that playmaking wide receiver that you kind of need on the outside, or another cornerback who potentially could replace J.C. Jackson if you opt to let him walk away in free agency. But you guys let me know the state of the franchise for the New England Patriots down in the comment section down below if you are watching this on YouTube. The next team that we got to talk about the state of the franchise for the New York Jets. Now, the New York Jets went 4-13 this past season in their first season under head coach Robert Saleh, and their season pretty much went how I thought it would go. They had a upset win against the Tennessee Titans. They had some pretty close games. They were pretty competitive. They also had some games where they weren't really all that competitive. However, the defense definitely took a major step in the right direction. The Jets defense was definitely way better this past season than what it was the year previously under former head coach Adam Gase. And with the New York Jets, a team that didn't really have a lot of talent going into this past season, I feel like they kind of played a little bit better than, what somebody who may be assessing a team like New York Jets on paper may think. You may look at a team like New York Jets and be like, okay, this team stinks. But in certain games, this team was able to hang around. Now, moving forward, the future of Robert Saleh and the Jets franchise for at least the next 3 years is going to rely heavily on the development of quarterback Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson's rookie season was pretty underwhelming, to say the least. However, he did play really well coming off that injury during the last month of the regular season. He had a pretty good stretch in December, and the regular season for Zach Wilson to end was pretty solid. Not the greatest, but pretty solid. And there are a lot of optimistic Jets fans when it comes to Zach Wilson and his potential. So I was actually talking to a Jets fan in the cafeteria at my university, and you don't really see a lot of Jets fans where I reside at in the state of Florida. You normally see a lot of Dolphins fans, Falcons fans. You don't really see a lot of Jets fans. So he was talking about to his friends and his buddies about how the Jets are going to be the most improved team going into the 2022 NFL season. They have tons of cap space. They're going to be able to improve the offensive line. They're going to add some more talent at wide receiver and on defense. And, I understand why, and the Jets definitely probably are going to do that. They pretty much still need help at almost every position. Wide receiver, Jamison, Crowder, and Cole are both pending free agents, so they're going to hit the free agency market if the Jets don't re-sign them. So you're going to have to improve the wide receiver position with those guys currently up in the air if they're going to be re-signed or not. You also could improve at right guard, right tackle, tight end. You also need a pass rusher, which is something that the Jets are probably going to put a high value on trying to get this offseason. You could get one via free agency, or you can go the way of drafting one in the upcoming NFL draft, which I think that there are a lot of great pass rushers that are going to be available when it's the Jets' turn to pick. Then you got to get some corners and a strong safety, because we don't know what's going to happen with Marcus Maye. And speaking of Marcus Maye, what's his future with the Jets? Because him and the Jets, there's been a little bit of a disconnect when it comes to contract negotiations. They just, for some reason, can't get on the same page. And if you are a Jets fan, you probably are coming with the assumption that, Marcus Maye most likely may be out the door. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I think that there's a strong indicator that Marcus Maye might not return in a Jets uniform for next season. Then what about Braxton Berrios? Because Braxton Berrios had a really good season. He kind of was a spark plug at times for the Jets. Are they going to resign him? Are they going to get him a new deal coming off the season that he had? So, moving forward for the Jets, there is a lot of optimism. However, I do think that there is room for a lot of skepticism, because we still don't really know just how good Zach Wilson is. You get what I'm saying? His rookie season wasn't that good. And that's pretty much how the majority of quarterbacks who were drafted in the first round, how their rookie season went. There were guys like Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, who also had pretty disappointing rookie seasons. And then for Mike LaFleur, going into year 2, how is he going to improve going into his second year as OC with Zach Wilson? Because, when you have a new offensive coordinator working with a young quarterback, you always want to look for the growth, not just from, the quarterback, but also from the offensive coordinator, the guy calling the plays. You want to look for, how has he better utilized Zach Wilson's strengths going into next season compared to how he utilized Zach Wilson's strengths last season. You get what I'm saying? Like, there were times when, the play calling wasn't the best, but however, Zach Wilson wasn't playing his best ball neither. And, the Jets drafted Zach Wilson to be the guy to help them get their franchise back to, winning ways when they had Broadway Joe Namath and whatnot. If they're going to get back to that, Mike LaFleur is going to be responsible for how successful Zach Wilson is going to be next season. Because now, I don't think that the Jets are just not going to do anything and they're not going to address the needs that they need to address offensively. So I think the offense, at least from a personnel standpoint, the talent is going to be there. So really, it's just going to come down to, can the play calling be there and can the execution be there, not only for Mike LaFleur, but for Zach Wilson as well. And defensively, this unit was pretty solid at times. They had their moments when they were not all that great, but that was when they were going against better opponents. But when they were going against teams that were like middle of the pack or below average, around the same tier that the Jets were, this defense did pretty good. So Robert Saleh, going into his second season, when he's finally able to get the kind of players that he wants for the kind of style of defense that he wants to play, like the Jets defense, don't be surprised if they end up having a top 5 or top 10 defense for the 2022 NFL season, because this Jets defense played very, very well, considering, the fact that they didn't really have good corners. They didn't really have a great pass rush neither. So now, with those positions getting taken care of and hopefully improved, Robert Saleh's defense could be very dangerous next season. So, overall, you look at the state of the New York Jets franchise, I'm not going to say, I'm totally optimistic. You get what I'm saying? I'm 50-50. I have a lot of optimism, but I also have my fair share of reservations, because you look at the AFC East, you got New England, you got Buffalo. Buffalo is a premier Super Bowl contender. Are the Jets going to be able to get up to the level of Buffalo? Are they even going to be able to get up to the level of New England? And also Miami. Miami was also a pretty good football team last season. They almost came close to getting into the postseason. So that division is really tight right now in terms of, where the Jets are compared to a team like the Miami Dolphins. You get what I'm saying? The Jets still are playing catch up when it comes to getting on the same level as the other 3 teams in the NFC, or in the AFC East, excuse me. So, the Jets, I think that this franchise right now, I'm going to take a wait and see approach. I still need to see some more improvements at the various positions that I mentioned. But on top of that, I got to see it on the field. So, don't really know what to think about the Jets right now, because, Zach Wilson didn't really give me anything to be hella confident in going into next season. So, I just have to see what the Jets do during this off season. Look at the state of the franchise for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm really interested in seeing, how next season plays out for San Francisco, because this season, or this past season, they went 10-7 and they made it to the playoffs, and they made it all the way to the conference championship game, where they were defeated by the eventual Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams. And the 49ers were one of those teams that, I don't want to say they crept out of nowhere, but they got really hot late in the season, and they carried that momentum all the way throughout the playoffs, and is why they kind of, exceeded many people's expectations, because the 49ers, most people looked at them as a wild card team. They were going to get into the playoffs, they were going to win 9-10 games, but it was hard to really see them doing much after that because of the limitations that they had at quarterback with Jimmy Garoppolo. However, their first couple of playoff matchups, they didn't really need to throw the football all that much. As a matter of fact, they won in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo. And then they get to the conference championship game. Jimmy Garoppolo played a pretty good game. It's just that the Rams just played a better overall game, and they made more plays when the game was on the line in the fourth quarter. So now, with the rumors out there that the 49ers are actively shopping Jimmy Garoppolo, a lot of people are excited for Trey Lance, myself included, because the 49ers traded up a lot to get Trey Lance. And the NFL, a couple of days after the Super Bowl, on their Instagram page, they made a post. It basically had all 32 NFL teams, and it said, "We know it's early, but who is your early Super Bowl matchup?" And many people, for the AFC had the Bills, the Chiefs, but for the NFC, many people had the 49ers, the Rams, or the Cowboys. And I was kind of surprised because I thought I was the only person who had the 49ers kind of tapped in as my way too early Super Bowl prediction. And that's not my official. I don't want anybody, trying to make it seem like I'm picking San Francisco to win it all, because I'm not. We still got a whole offseason to go. But in terms of right now, I'm pretty high on the 49ers. And I'm kind of wondering if Trey Lance next season, if he starts, could be what Patrick Mahomes was for the Chiefs in 2018. Because you remember when Kansas City kind of had a similar situation. They traded up for Patrick Mahomes. He sat a year. Then they traded Alex Smith. And then Patrick Mahomes went off his first season as the starting quarterback for Kansas City. You wonder if Trey Lance can do that, because he has a lot of clips from him in practice making all kinds of crazy throws. And, of course, people are going to, try to down the plays that he made from practice, saying, "Oh, it's just practice. Is he going to be able to do it in the real game and whatnot?" So there's a lot of excitement for Trey Lance. However, what if the 49ers can't trade Jimmy Garoppolo? Because, I don't really think that any team is going to be jumping out the bit to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. As a matter of fact, if you have to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, it kind of means that your quarterback situation is kind of in a bad spot, and Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of like an emergency quarterback, just so you can have, some stability at the position going into the regular season. So trading for Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of like an emergency move where you desperately need to have a starting quarterback, rather your starter got injured, or maybe you didn't really assess the quarterback position the way that you should have, in the early stages of the off season, and you weren't able to get your hands on one. So you look at Jimmy Garoppolo, there's a very good chance that maybe he does return to San Francisco. And if he does remain in San Francisco, it's like they're going to be a quarterback battle again between Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, because Jimmy Garoppolo isn't going to play bad enough to get benched. And on top of that, the 49ers are going to win games just because they're a good team and they are capable of being able to win despite not having great quarterback play. So with Trey Lance coming in, you're looking for him to get you to that next level. You're looking for Trey Lance to get you to the Super Bowl pretty much, and to get you a Lombardi trophy. And also, Mike McDaniels, OC for San Francisco, took the head coaching job in Miami. And I don't really know what role Mike McDaniels had in the offense, because, if I'm not mistaken, Kyle Shanahan calls the plays. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Kyle Shanahan was calling the play. So I don't really know what Mike McDaniels' role was when it came to the offense. Was he involved in game planning, the adjustments? What was his role on Kyle Shanahan's staff? And then defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryan. 49ers fans, enjoy DeMeco Ryans while you have him for at least one more season, because it looks like you may once again be losing another good defensive coordinator, because DeMeco Ryan's defense was a large reason for why the 49ers had the kind of success they had late in the season and in the playoffs. This defense played phenomenal. However, cornerback has to be addressed. Like, it has to be addressed. Like, the 49ers have to make it a big focal point of going out there and trying to acquire a big name cornerback. Now, it might not be via free agency because they only have like $2 million, well, near $3 million in cap space. So, I mean, they're going to have to work some things around, restructure some contracts and whatnot. But they have to make it a focal point to improve the cornerback position. On top of that, Laken Tomlinson is a pending free agent. He was the starting left guard for San Francisco this past season. Are they going to bring him back? You need to add some more depth on the interior of the defensive line. Then, okay, like, what about, safety? Because Tart is currently a pending free agent. So you're going to have to address cornerback and you're going to have to address the secondary. But overall, you look at the current state that the 49ers are in as a organization, they're in a really good spot. Because, I mean, like, this team kind of, they kind of shocked some people. Because, like, this was a team that wasn't really supposed to go no further than the divisional round, and it made it to the conference championship game. And it's going to be really exciting to see, as we progress throughout the offseason, if Jimmy Garoppolo gets traded, how this team and how this offense is going to be constructed around Trey Lance. Because I don't know if a lot of you guys watch this podcast, but it's a podcast that Sean McVay does with one of the guys who works on NFL Network, Peter Schrager, I believe his name is. And I think it was called The Traveling Coach. And Sean McVay ended up having Kyle Shanahan on in one of these episodes. They basically were, chatting it up, X's and O's, coach talk. But Kyle Shanahan explained the decision process that the 49ers had when they were deciding to draft Trey Lance. And basically, Kyle Shanahan was naming off traits that he looks for in a quarterback. You got to be smart, got to have the arm strength and whatnot. But you look at Trey Lance, Trey Lance kind of fits the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes mode, kind of raw coming out of college, needs a lot of coaching, needs to be retooled, and needs to improve his mechanics in certain aspects. But the physical traits are there. Like, Trey Lance has all the physical tools to dominate at a very high level. However, can you teach him the X's and O's? Can you improve his football IQ? Because Kyle Shanahan said that having a great quarterback kind of relieve some of the stress off the head coach, because now you have a great quarterback that can make up for some of the mistakes that, the guy calling the plays may make, or, turning a bad play into a good play and a good play into a great play. So when you have a great quarterback, it takes a little bit of pressure off the head coach, because now you can rely on your quarterback in certain instances to go ahead and win the game for you, versus having to make everything, so analytical and having to overly rely on the run game like you have had to do in the past with Jimmy Garoppolo being the starting quarterback. And Jimmy Garoppolo is not bad. He definitely has his moments. It's just that he's inconsistent, and you don't really know if he's going to be available to help you win, because he also has a history with injuries. So, stay the franchise for the 49ers. Very great spot that San Francisco is in. As a matter of fact, they are in the prime spot right now to make it to the Super Bowl. As a matter of fact, next season or the next 2-3 years may be the best opportunities that the 49ers may have at winning a championship, because the NFC is way different from the AFC. Like, the AFC is stacked with so many great quarterbacks, so many great young teams. And the NFC is completely different. You got a lot of teams who have quarterbacks who are either up there in age or they're retiring. So you don't really know what those teams are going to do at the quarterback position. Like, what's going to happen with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Are they going to get Deshaun Watson? What are they going to do? Are they going to roll with Kyle Trask? What's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers? Like, is he going to demand a trade? Is he going to retire? You don't really know. So there definitely is a prime opportunity for the 49ers to be in that Super Bowl conversation next season and to actually have a legit shot of winning a championship. It just really all depends on, like if Trey Lance is what 49ers fans and John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are hoping that he is. This transcendent quarterback that has all the physical tools to be great. However, will he be able to pick up enough of the game to be successful? So, state of the franchise for the 49ers, you guys let me know what you guys think about the 49ers moving forward as we progress throughout the NFL offseason.